Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next comment question comes from Drake Vegas, and this was in response to what is the Yamaha DX7 Restore cartridge? A video I did in January 2016. Funny that, I've got a DX7 on the bench in front of me. That's a story for another day. Anyway, so Drake writes, so I'm not able to load sounds from the data ROM 2 FDD cartridge on the DX7. Now, a couple of things. First, between the DX7 Mark I and the DX7 Mark II, Yamaha made a series of structural changes to the synth. These changes were subtle, I would say, but they were required to support the new features of the 2. So this is a 2, distinctive from the 1 by the fact that this has not the membrane buttons but the raised buttons on it. So there were notable differences between this, purely because this had more functionality. It supported MIDI in a different way to the Mark I, and the sound structure was, although you could use the same sysexes, there were additional parameters on the 2 that there weren't on the 1, which meant that you couldn't use a 1 on a 2, but you could use a 2 on, sorry, you couldn't use a 2 on a 1, but you could use a 1 on a 2, if that makes any sense. But one of the big noticeable things is the size of the cartridge. That being a cartridge for a Yamaha DX7 Mark II, and I don't have a Mark I cartridge floating around to be able to show you that, but there are size differences between the Mark I and the Mark II, in that the Mark II cartridge is actually bigger than the Mark I cartridge, and they made an adapter to allow you to use Mark I cartridges on the Mark II, which is being sold on eBay for horrendous prices if you can get hold of the ADP1. But it did allow you to use all the card series for the Mark I on the Mark II. So while Mark I sounds were supported in the Mark II, the Mark II could not support. Sorry, the Mark I could not support Mark II sounds, which is what I said. So back to your comment, you can't put a Mark II cartridge in a Mark I. If the sound was designed for a Mark II, then it might work on the Mark I, but if it used any of the new features, tweaks that were included in the Mark II, then it's likely it's not going to work on the Mark I. Now, I'm going to caveat this and say I have never owned a Mark I. I've always had Mark IIs. Reason why I have Mark IIs is because I've always found the Mark II to be the more sturdy machine, but the purists will always say you needed a Mark I. Personal preference, I have a Mark II. In fact, now I have 2 Mark IIs, but that, again, as I said, is a story for another video. But I hope that it kind of explains why you can't load the Mark II cartridge into the Mark I. Next comment or question comes from Don DeVore. In response to should we boycott AI generated music, a video I did in May 2023. And Don writes, good news is thanks to Stranger Things, cassettes are getting popular again. And this was quite a strange thing. I was listening to a podcast. Must be 6. Yeah, it's got to be. It's probably just after I did the rant in May. so late May, early June, I went to pick a keyboard up. I went to pick the KX80A up, actually, which has just gone down to storage this morning. And when I went to pick that up, I was listening to this podcast, and I can't remember who the artist was now, but the artist who was being interviewed was saying that in the UK last year, cassettes actually outstripped vinyl and CDs, which I find absolutely bonkers. We spent all those years trying to move off of cassettes and vinyl on the CD, and now we're kind of reversing the process and going back to cassettes and vinyl. But cassettes have the advantage, they're very portable. Vinyl's not very portable. CDs are very portable, but there are reasons why people don't like CDs. I'll tell you what it was. It was a UAP podcast. That's what it was. It was a UAP called Let's Talk About Synth Seriously. That was what it was. And they were interviewing Max Parker. Anyway, I just found it really fascinating that, you know, cassettes have outstripped vinyl and CDs last year. But it is to do with the fact that there was a couple of promotions that were done that has focused people back on cassettes. And it's really annoying, actually, because about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I actually sold my professional cassette deck and my amplifier and whatever, and I've just acquired a bunch of cassettes. So Louis.